Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Athletic Show.
What's up, everybody? It's been a minute.
Yeah, it really has. But we're back, and we have some good stuff for you guys. We're actually wanted to kind of dive into the CrossFit Games because it's been going on this past weekend, and we just wanted to touch base on it, but also talk about, like, some people get intimidated by it, but what it brings out in people is something worth talking about.
Yeah, and like one thing we want to make sure everyone is aware of is that the CrossFit athletes that go to the games are the 0.01% of CrossFitters. So when you see the sport being ran on ESPN, on YouTube, all this stuff, what most people don't realize is that like these people are doing this as a full-time gig. Like this is what they do. Like this is their everyday, all day, you know.
It's their job.
Yeah, it's their life. It's their livelihood for some of them as well. So, you know, sometimes I've found that some people like, oh, I could never do that. No, I can't do that. But if you watch the Masters are doing a lot of the similar movements, obviously like less reps and slightly less weight. And they're still like in their 50s, in their 60s. And it's very impressive. So I feel like most of the time people like think that it's not possible, but it really is, right?
Well, and that's the whole thing. Like CrossFit was created for everyone, and there was a sport that came out of that, and that's what the games is. But when you're looking at what CrossFit is and the methodology and the programming and why it was created, is to get people fitter and healthier and all-rounded.
Yeah, and what most people probably don't realize is that all these athletes started the same way. They probably started with, you know, just a regular CrossFit gym, learning the movements from a coach, and then they were probably quite good at it, and they just elevated from there. Like most of them, if you ask them, how long have you been doing CrossFit? They'll say years and years and years. Like we saw people, like 10 years in the games, like things like that. So it's important to kind of understand, like, just because you're at your level, that doesn't mean you can't actually exceed well and truly past that. And so I feel like most of the time people, you know, don't necessarily understand the value of CrossFit because they watch these games and they think that it's just so hardcore and so, you know,
intimidating.
and you're going to get injured and all these things. Now, yes, people at the games can get injured, but that's because they're doing like 3-4 extreme workouts. We're talking like, that's like running 2 marathons a day, 5 days in a row.
Well, and they're also competing for $285,000.
Yeah, so I mean,
so there's a big,
they're going to put their body
drive behind that.
They're going to put their body on the line just like any other sport.
Yeah.
So, but we wanted to kind of say like, what would it look like for, you know, if you're listening to this and you're considering CrossFit, or you know someone that's considering CrossFit? I'd love to give like maybe like the beginner pathway of what that would look like, because I've introduced so many people to CrossFit myself, but what it would look like for someone who was like, hey, maybe I want to try that, you know? So the very first thing is, do you know someone that does CrossFit? If you do, definitely try and join them at their gym and check it out. If you don't, contact that CrossFit gym and set up a session. Like just set up a session, like a trial session, one-on-one. If you're kind of like a bit shy or you're a bit intimidated, totally okay. Set that up. If not, set up a time where you can come in and try one of their beginner classes. Is that what you would suggest for people?
No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, if you want to try CrossFit, you have to just take that step to go and do it, because yes, it's common to feel scared or intimidated. I remember feeling that way when I first did it, but when you do it, it's like you get such a good feeling out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and like there's something about being able to do things that you may have been able to do as a kid, but as an adult you've never even thought about doing.
Yeah.
And having the growth along it. But you know, like one of the coolest things, and like this is going to be a story of the games that happen, is the community behind CrossFit. So one of the athletes, he was like in first place basically the whole entire weekend. On one of the events last day, he came over a log and he landed on his foot wrong, broke his foot, and he still went out for another event, and he's doing single unders on one leg. And to
double unders
on one leg. And to hear the community just uplifting him and motivating him to get through, like, that you don't find that in any other gym. Like, this is a CrossFit thing because CrossFit is about community, you know, and when you join a gym, a CrossFit gym, you get that community aspect, and people that you work out with become friends. And there's something like going through the struggle and having unity and having people along you supporting you. You won't find that anywhere.
No way, no way. So, you know, it really is like get your foot in the door, and the heaviest lift you will ever have to make is opening the door to get through. That's the heaviest lift that you're going to have to make, because it's a mental thing, it's a physical thing, it's an emotional thing. You have to overcome so much and be willing to learn, right? And like in that alone, you have to kind of have no pride, no ego. Like you have to be just so willing to just put yourself in an uncomfortable position to try hard, work hard, and continue to learn in the process. Because, you know, as soon as you realize that you know nothing, you then know that you're in a place of growing and developing and getting better and better in your physicality, your mentality, and all those things. So that's really what CrossFit's all about. It's challenging. And like one of the things that most people don't realize is the constantly varied. And what I love about constantly varied is people go to these commercial gyms or these regular gyms and they just do the same thing. The same exercises on a Monday, the same exercises on a Wednesday. It's leg day on once a week. It's, you know, chest day twice a week. And yes, they may get results. I'm not going to lie. Those results will be extremely slow. And the time it takes for you to get to where you want to go, a CrossFitter has probably already reached that point 3 times.
But to hop on that too, with CrossFit, like for traditional gyms, yes, you're training your chest, you're training your legs, whatever. CrossFit makes you all round fit. So, and I love like when someone new comes into the gym, I love giving them the analogy of, you know, if we had the bucket of marbles or whatever, and you pick one and it said, go run a mile, you can do it. And then if you came back in, you picked another one, it said, okay, go squat a heavy 3-rep squat.
The Hopper,
you can do
right?
it.
The Hopper method, yeah.
You can, you know, CrossFit gets you prepared for the unknown and the unknowable. And when you're able to take that outside and test your fitness in little ways, it's really cool to see the kind of training that we do in here in CrossFit and how it can, you know, go into your everyday life.
Yeah. And so like we want to encourage people, if you're at a CrossFit gym, you know, like talk to your friends about it, about like just the value that you get out of it, because the world needs more positive people about it. Like not people like showing that they're getting hurt or talking about always getting hurt. Like talk about the wins, right? Like you're constantly seeing people get PRs and they just love it. They get so confident, they get their first bar muscle up and all this stuff. Like that's where so much value is. That's where the value is. And then when people are cheering you on because you're like last or you're still putting in the effort, you just can't beat that anywhere. So, you know, like the games are great. Once a year we get to see like how far people can truly push their bodies, which is incredible. But ultimately, I think everything comes down to what's behind the games.
Yeah.
You know, what led up to the games. It was the CrossFit affiliates creating a space that was safe and that was available for people to come and develop themselves. And as people came and developed themselves, they developed friendships. As they developed friendships, they created communities. As the communities grew, then the games were an opportunity for people to go, what can this community of incredible individuals do on a stage? And that's really where it led, you know? And so where it is now is incredible to see. It's almost like for me when I see it on ESPN, I'm like, why isn't anyone doing it? Like, why is people looking at this stuff going, what's this crazy stuff? It's not crazy. It's not crazy. You watch a weightlifter do a snatch, you don't call that crazy. You watch a gymnast pole vault or whatever they do and handstand and flip 1,000,000 times, it's not crazy.
Yeah.
But you put those two together and you call it crazy. So
That's true.
I think that most of the time people just need to have a different perception of it. And we're here as coaches, as gym owners, all these things, like we're here to try and change the perception of it, because that's where everything lies. Like everything lays in perception. And if your perception of CrossFit is incorrect, it's inaccurate, you need to change it.
There's so much good out there. And CrossFit also has come a long ways. Like it did the way that it's evolved, it's a lot different than what it was when it first started. And if you haven't done CrossFit or if you're thinking about doing it, just remember that when you go into a gym, like, yeah, chances are you're probably not going to know all the movements, but everything is scalable, everything can be modified, and it can be suited to your level. And that's something that we really try to do when people come into the gym the first time here at Athletics, is making sure that you feel comfortable, but you also feel confident in what you're doing, so that we eliminate that scarcity or that feeling of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, we want you to, start paving your way to being successful and healthier and all of these things. So making sure that you are good where you're at when you start, it really pays off.
Yeah, and that's why we have progressions, right?
Yeah.
Like, we saw this week, one of our members with you, she got her first handstand.
Yeah.
Right?
Two
like
of them.
2 handstands.
Well,
like
2 girls got their first handstand.
Okay, so like that's where it starts. It starts with getting your first, and then after you get your first, you get your second, and after you get your second, you get your third, and that's where it starts. And it's always the scariest when you do that first time.
Absolutely.
The
With
first
anything
time.
though, right?
Yeah, the first time you got underneath a barbell, you're like, oh my gosh, there's all this steel above my head.
Yeah.
And you did it. It's the confidence that you needed,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the coaches are there to kind of like guide you, be with you, like kind of see you win.
But also it's like, in those two, like, yes, you could do those in the classes, but if there's also things that you want to get better at or things that you want to develop, work with a coach one-on-one. It takes away that feeling of other people are watching me, or what if I fail? Like, they're skill sessions for a reason,
And they're undivided attention.
Yeah, so you work one-on-one, and when you are able to have that one-on-one quality time and really hone in on your weaknesses or address and give you progressions for exactly where you're at, a lot can happen. So if that's something that you're feeling, or feel intimidated to try and give it a go in classes, maybe look at working with a coach one-on-one to develop it, so that when it comes up in a class, you do have that level of confidence because you've been working on it.
100%. So I hope that's helpful for you guys, and we hope that, like, that's been awesome for you to watch it. If you're not watching it, please like look back and watch it. It's such an incredible,
it's such a good hype.
Yeah, it's great
such
hype.
a good hype.
Great hype. So check it out. It's always on YouTube. It's on ESPN, and it's always around this time of year. And then all of the sanctioned events as well. Like, get amongst it. Like, watch it because you want to watch what's possible. That's mostly what I want to kind of share with you guys, because when you do things and you dedicate yourself to any journey, anything's possible.
Absolutely.
So thanks, guys. Remember to move with integrity.
Make good choices. We'll see you on the next one.